What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time I'm going to be taking a look at I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel to the highly successful first movie, which came out. This movie came out exactly 1 year after the first, so yeah, this was a rushed production. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Moose Watson return. We have special edition. We have add-ons by Mekhi Phifer and Brandy, who was very popular back in 1998. And we also have Matthew Settle, Bill Cobbs, and Jeffrey Combs, and Jennifer Esposito to fill out the supporting cast. The movie's written by Trey Calloway, directed by Danny Cannon. If Danny Cannon vaguely rings your memory, he directed Judge Dredd, and he's also one of the producers on the Gotham TV show on Fox. So yeah, it's amazing to see how his career's come along in the last 20 years. Okay, I really don't have all that much to say about this movie, to be honest with you. I like it on par with the first, maybe a little less. The first movie I thought overall was really well done. It has a lot to do with Kevin Williamson as a writer and the director and some of the cast members. This movie to me is note for note an exact copy of the first movie, with a couple of little things added here and there. Where this movie fails is that it dropped the boat on taking a psychological thriller angle in terms of just being a retread. How I would have done this movie is that the fisherman is dead at the end of the first movie, and Julie, in this movie, she keeps having visions, which is what she does. She has visions of the fisherman, has dreams of the fisherman. How I would have done this is that I would have had the fisherman just be deader than dead. After the first movie, he died. In this movie, he's dead. And the visions that Julie sees are all in her mind. She thinks she's seeing these things. In actuality, she is. But in actuality, she's not. or maybe she is. We won't know to the end of the movie, where we get a big revelation. Now, the big revelation of this movie is that Ben Willis's son, Will Benson, befriends, Julie and Julie's friend Carla, played by Brandy. So how I would have done this is that, again, I would have kept Ben Willis dead, and I would have had everything revolve around Ben, the son. Now, of course, a lot of the extra killings that took place in this movie would have to wait till they actually get to the island, which would have been fine. You're doing a psychological thriller angle. You don't need to do a whole lot of killing. The only killing and almost kill that should have happened was the Ray killing on the highway, which is actually a pretty good scene, and it's a nice little twist on the first movie, where Ray and his friend are driving down the road, and they see a body in the road, and then when Ray turns it over, it ends up being a mannequin, and Ray's friend gets hooked in the mouth. I would have kept all that in because I would have kept all that in because Ray needs to get Ray's whole subplot in this movie is that he needs to get to the island to save Julie. But I would have had both Ray and Julie, think that Ben Willis is actually back, when in actuality it was not Ben Willis, it's Ben Willis's son. I would have kept all that in. Just take the Ben Willis being alive angle, completely cut that out, and I would have had. So I think the movie would have played out so much better if Ben Willis was dead and it's actually his son taking revenge, and he's playing psychological games with Julie. I think that hook would have made no pun intended, would have made the movie so much better. This is what we got. Instead, we got this generic carbon copy of the first movie. Mekhi Phifer and Brandy, their characters are note for note replicas of Barry and Helen. They add nothing to this movie. Brandy is a mediocre actress at best. I would have gotten so much better. Mekhi Phifer is just at the beginning of his career. This is before 8 Mile. So he was okay. Jennifer Love Hewitt, I liked her in the first one, and she's okay in this one too. Freddie Prinze Jr. has literally nothing to do in this movie. His whole subplot is to get to the island, because after he gets run off the road by Ben Willis, he's pretty much in medical care. He's pretty much on the road. His subplot's on the road, so he doesn't do anything until like the last 10 minutes of the movie when he finally gets to the island. The whole island aspect I actually do like. I like the whole being secluded. I like the whole seclusion aspect of this movie, being isolated with very little places to go, and you're pretty much on an island, so there's no help at all, except for the boats. I like that. I like that. I like that whole aspect. Like, you're really confined into Ben Willis's personal playground with this island. I don't think they utilize it as much as I think they should have utilized it, but it is what it is. Some of the characters, the hotel, they're okay. Jennifer Esposito plays a bartender. She's okay. Jeffrey Combs, to me, is the most memorable. He plays the Brooks, the hotel manager, and I just love Jeffrey Combs, snarky comebacks he has with these kids and how he just puts them down. He is not afraid to put them down either. He just has like this sly remark, like a bunch of city kids. He only has 2 scenes, but they're very memorable scenes. So Jeffrey Combs all the way. And of course, you can clearly tell he's the better actor when he's acting off the 4 protagonists when they get to the hotel. You can really tell who's the better actor, because he puts all those kids to shame. What else? The kills in this movie, they're nothing really to talk about. They're pretty generic. They're not that brutal, to be honest with you. I mean, this was one brutal scene where Ben Willis hooks a guy's hand and he stabs him with like a garden scissors, some shit like that. Side note, that character is called Titus, played by Jack Black, and Jack Black is the second most memorable thing about this movie. It is so much fun to see Jack Black playing this fucking Rastaman. I thought it was hilarious. Even though his character is stupid, serves no purpose, I thought he was funny. That's just me. Bill Cobbs plays a porter named Estes, and he's okay. He actually provides a lot of exposition in the form of more backstory for Ben Willis, which I thought was very intriguing. And I kind of wish this movie was more of a prequel to the first movie, because this movie made me want to know more about Ben Willis's backstory. Estes tells them a tale about how he was once married. In addition to having the daughter, he had a son. And Ben Willis used to work and live on the island, and rumors went around that his wife was a cheater, rumors went around that he would beat his wife, rumors went around that he killed his wife. I would have liked to have seen more of a movie like this, because you are making Ben Willis more of an interesting character than the actual protagonist in this thing. And I want to know more about my villain. But when you actually start feeding me more exposition about my villain that I did not know prior to the first movie, I want to know more. I want a movie now expanding upon this. I want to see a movie where we see Ben Willis on the island, and then we see all the events that lead up to his daughter's accidental death before the start of the first film. And I want to know his relationship with David Egan. Did he like David Egan? Did he hate David Egan? Did he approve? Did he not approve? I mean, we all know he went off the deep end when his daughter died, and he killed David 1 year later. I want to know more. I was more intrigued about knowing more about Ben Willis than about this movie progressing. I would have liked to have seen flashbacks, to be honest with you. Now, speaking of Ben Willis, Muse watching this movie, he's good as always. He's very foreboding, very intimidating. I actually like the look of the fisherman get up in this time around. I like the whole, muddy, dirty look that it has. I like the fact that he has a hook that is... He has an actual hook. Since he lost his hand in the first movie, he actually has a hook crafted onto his arm, and it's very Captain James Hook-like from Peter Pan, which I thought was pretty cool. It's absurdly huge. It's absurd, but it looks good. Danny Cannon as a director, he's fine. He's not as good as the first guy, but it's whatever. The writing in this movie is definitely subpar compared to Kevin Williamson, who I think is a more smarter writer. He actually gave the other 4 characters in the first movie some personality. In this movie, I don't know Tyrell or Carla. I don't know their characters. They had no character to me. They're literally just carbon copies of Barry and Helen, and they don't really stand out at all. They don't. And that's a big flaw for me. If you want me to like these people, you gotta give me a reason to like these people. You can't just say, "Oh, like these characters, they're getting killed." I need to know why. I don't know Carl's personality, and I don't know. And the only thing about Tyrell is that he's he spends the entire his whole thing that he's trying to get into Carla's pants, and he keeps getting stopped, which is kind of funny. Matthew Settle played, Will, Ben's son. He's okay. He's not too bad. Like I said, if this one would have made the Ben Willis character dead at the beginning and dead throughout the movie, and his son is the one that's behind all the killings, I think his character would have added much more to his character and gave him much more of a motivation instead of him being an accomplice and a planner. That's just me. I think this movie really missed the boat of being more of a psychological thriller instead of a carbon copy of the first movie. Okay, so, and of course this movie, and of course, like I said, Ray gets to the island, he helps Julie, they shoot Ben, he falls into a grave, blah, 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 blah. They get into a house, jump scare central, under the bed, pulls her under, that's the end. This movie is a 6.5 out of 10. Not as good as the first. It's an easy watch, but you can clearly tell that it's not even trying to stand out. And that's a big flaw, and it deserves a 6.5 for that. And after watching this again, I think the 7 out of 10 I gave the first movie is a little low, so I am retroactively making the first movie an 8 out of 10. Because by comparison, the first movie is more fresher and it's more unique than the sequel, which is just a basic retread, but it doesn't have the interesting characters, and it really missed the boat of having a more interesting story. So yeah, 6.5 out of 10. If you have not seen I Still Know What You Did Last Summer in a long time, why not give it a watch? Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. Like and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.